Manipur, which remains in a state of tension with the government security forces and intelligence agencies treading very carefully now to avoid a further escalation of violence from the armed militants. On the 27th of September, the Kuki-Zo community initiated a 2-day total shutdown calling for a separate union territory amid the ongoing violence that has persisted for over a year. Vehicular movement was largely halted except for essential services, with volunteers, mainly the Kuki-Zo women, monitoring key locations including National Highway 2 at Kangpokpi district headquarters and the Gamji 5. This uproar was intensified by recent assertions from the state government alleging that 900 Kuki militants had infiltrated Manipur from Myanmar. In response, the Manipur Security Advisor and Director General of Police refuted the claims made by the Chief Minister's office, stating that the information could not be substantiated with evidence on the ground. Consequently, the CMO was forced to retract its earlier statement. The shutdown now underscores the Kuki-Zo women's demand for a complete separation from Manipur's current governance structure and also from the Meitei community. Meanwhile, security forces have discovered a new cache of arms and explosives across 2 districts in Manipur, along with the seizure of Myanmar currency. The recovery of rockets, weaponized drones and advanced weapons used against civilians and security forces underscores the involvement of external entities leveraging local groups to wage a proxy conflict against India. Yet, one must question whether the state government is restricted in its actions. Why is the ongoing infiltration of arms, drugs and militants being allowed to continue? What really is keeping us from figuring out the solution for Manipur? I take this conversation forward. I have with me Major General Dhruv Katoch. I also have with me Suhas Chakma. We have with us Mr. Tombing, Professor of Law at National Law University, and we have also with us on the broadcast Ruchida Sharma. I'm being told we also have Mr. Lun Kip Jen, spokesperson of KOTU, with us on the broadcast as well. But let me begin this conversation with Dr. Tombing. Dr. Tombing, I'd like to understand from your perspective, sir, where exactly is this demand for a separate union territory currently coming from, and what is it that the Kuki community specifically requires to have a conversation with the current government structure?
In a republic, the majority will have their ways, but the minority will have their say. This is what the idea of republic also is. And given the circumstances that we are right now in, 1 year plus, and 1 year and a half, more than 1 year and a half plus now, the issues, the propagandas, the challenges, and then the existential threat for Kuki-Zomi communities in the state of Manipur is still very much in persistent. And despite efforts from maybe Government of India side also, and also from the other CSOs and also other leaders as well, to come to a certain solution, there has not been a proper standoff as yet. And plus, given the circumstances of fabricated news of 900 armed militants from Myanmar entering, and which was circulated at the level of the CMO office and then also at the level of the Security Advisor's office, of course, though retracted, it reflect and it does not augur well for a existence of a peaceful society, because such type of fabricated news, verified, unverified, once it is coming out from a much respected and with an office of credentials like that of the CMO and then the Security Advisor's office, it sends a sense of uncertainty and existential query squarely back to the communities again. And in the light of such a situation, when nothing seems to be possible and then solution is too far at the end, maybe what Thomas Sowell has said, if you could not reach to a solution, maybe you start discussing a certain trade-off. And the idea of the Kuki-Zo is not secessionist, not otherwise, but also for the purpose of self-governance, whereby there's dignity and security of its larger individuals. And it is there that their expression in an idea of republic, even if the majority will have their way, the minority will have their say.
Okay.
And it's okay within that scope. Thank you.
Okay, I've been told Loon Kipjen has also joined us on the broadcast. Loon Kipjen, I want to understand from you, this demand for a separate union territory has now come from the Kuki community, which claims that it has been demonized by the government as far as the current situation is concerned. What really will it take for the Kuki community to come to the table to have a discussion?
Ma'am, thank you so much for your time. And this perhaps the first time people on the ground, especially from Kangpopi, could join your platform. I'm very thankful to that. See, with respect to our demand for, like Mr. Tumbing had mentioned earlier, see, it stems from the what you call the nepotism that the state government has been instituting towards the minority. See, 3rd May incident, that is just a spark. But those plans, why the Kuki-Zo community had always reiterated that this is a plan and a well-organized genocide of the minority. It reflects in itself that even the chief minister, who's supposed to be the head of the executive, has been very biased towards the minority communities. In fact, today we have just completed 2 days of total shutdown to show our resentment against the fabricated news of 900 Kuki armed militants from Myanmar. And subsequently, even the DGP and the security advisors have refuted that claims by the Office of the Chief Minister. So I think it is honest, our constitutional right for the tribals to demand. Why I'm saying to demand is because we have no other way out. We have been chased out from the state of, from Imphal. So we are completely segregated demographically, and what we just need is a set of administration. So I think it is not asking too much.
Okay.
But yeah.
Mr. Kipchen, I also just want to understand from you, since you're joining us from the ground, what really is the situation like, and on a day-to-day basis or on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, what is the government or what are the authorities really doing to reach out to both communities?
Say about the other communities, but as far as Kangpopi, Sada Hills is concerned, we have a competing authority and the deputy commissioner and the ASP. But what more can they do when when we are being left on our own? See, I'm sorry I could not join you on time because I was on my way. I don't have the luxury to spare time even with my family. That is the condition. But I'll tell you, there is peace. There's peace in the entire Kangpopi and the entire Sada Hills area, unless attacked or aggressed by the valley-based groups in our fringe area. Otherwise, it's relative peace when you compare with Imphal. You can see the roads. I think we have been managing without, I should say, from in the absence of governance, we have been doing on our own through crowdfunding. And maybe tomorrow we'll have to meet the concerned authorities whereby we can get rice, a bag of rice for IDPs. That's how it is. Forget not only about the IDPs, even for the people who are, staying here, they have nowhere to earn, nowhere to earn. But in ground, I think, ma'am, it's bad. But in terms of peace, so I think we are doing good.
Okay, I want to bring Ruchita Sharma into the conversation as well. Ruchita Sharma, I want to understand from you this separate demand for a union territory by the Kuki community. Do you feel that would be a solution to the clashes that have been going on for over 1 year now? Okay, I'm going to request our producers to give us an updated list of who are the guests who are actually with us. But let me bring in Major General Dhruv Katoch into the conversation. Major General Dhruv Katoch, your thoughts on this demand that has now come from the Kuki community. They've called for a 2-day bandh, and within that they have said that perhaps in their best judgment, a separation of the lands is what is required.
Thank you, Devika. Devika, let me give you my views. I've heard the two speakers and I can understand their anguish. But let's be straight. This demand for a separate union territory should never ever be acceded to. It is the first step towards separatism.
Yes.
And there is absolutely no requirement for carrying out something like this. One, the Kukis and the Manipuri, the Meiteis, they've always lived in peace all along. This problem which has started is externally inspired precisely to get a demand of this nature in. You start with the union territory, then you go on to independence, then you see all the hill areas. And then once you get that independence, all of them will still migrate to the rest of India because there's nothing there. The question is, the previous speaker spoke of nepotism. He hasn't given one example of nepotism which has taken place there. Is there been any discrimination to the Kukis in the appointments and government jobs? The answer is no. Is there any way in which a person has said because he's a Kuki, he's not going to get something? The answer is no. I agree that the statement from the Chief Minister's office of 800 plus, Kuki Chin militants moving in from Myanmar, that may not have been correct information. But from the Chief Minister's office, it is not something which was cooked up by them. He would have got the information from somewhere. And being in the military, I can assure you, many times such informations come which we presume to be correct, which are later found to be false. And many times they are also given the opposite information that nothing is happening, and we find that something great is happening. That is part of the system. It isn't that everybody has foolproof intelligence 100% of the time. Neither will the Kukis have it, nor will the Meiteis, nor will the government of India, nor will the government of Myanmar. It doesn't happen that way. There is a ground, there is a reality. But the two fundamental issues which I want to emphasize very clearly, because the two guests are also listening in, I want to make that clear. This is externally inspired. There is a very large role of Christian missionaries from America and Western Europe which are doing the funding. There is a very large percentage of people in the United States government which want to create disturbance in India's northeast as a larger overall ambit of keeping the area disturbed. The coup in Bangladesh, where the Prime Minister was deposed, was one step towards that. Now their attention is towards India's northeast. All the people whom you see here, they're simply pawns, you see. They are irrelevant to the fight. The people who are controlling them, and most of them don't even know they are being controlled, are lying well across India's borders. And that is where the danger lies. So the question is not giving union territory status. That will further complicate the problem. It will lead to such demands across the country,
yes,
which will be unimaginable. No. But please implement the High Court order where the High Court has said that the Meiteis should be given tribal status. They should have been given that tribal status in 1947 itself. It was total discrimination carried out against a particular community where this status was not given. And I think we need to redress historical wrongs. And for the Kuki community to say they should not be given, I think is absolutely unfair, absolutely uncalled for. The solutions now, at some point of time, I fully agree with the right of the Kukis to come and protest. It's a democracy, right? You have your say. But the tail cannot wag the dog. You cannot say because the Kukis wanted, the rest of India will comply because you're the majority. We are the majority. every consideration is given to all the minorities, yes. But to simply state that because we are minorities then our will prevail, it doesn't work that way. There are larger national interests at play, especially as far as external agencies are concerned, and we must be very, very cognizant of the larger interest of the nation, including the larger interest of the Kuki people and all the people of the Northeast. Devika.
Okay, Suhas Chakma, bringing you into the conversation. Suhas Chakma, I want to understand from your perspective, this demand that has been made by the Kuki community for a separate union territory, what sort of a precedent will be set if this demand is looked into, or do you believe that they're simply putting this out because perhaps they want to open up a channel for communication?
I don't think they want to open a channel of communication. I think given the realities and the the hard position of the Métis, not to do away with any kind of threat to, not to accept any kind of threat to territorial integrity. I don't think this is the way one could begin talks with any party. But I think the approach taken by both Mr. Katoj and the Kukis are not helping the situation. Because if there is a historic wrong of not giving ST status to the Métis, if that's the reason why the conflicts have started for more than a year ago, if also on the other side, the Métis do not want to cede the territory by creating a separate state, whether it's for the Kukis or the Nagas, I do not think they are helping the process. It's extremely unhelpful from both sides. I think what is essential is to realize the fact that these demands from both sides are contentious. These demands, given the fact that we have been in conflict, or we have seen the conflicts for the last, 15 months or 16 months, there is a need to tone down, not to tone down from the side of those who are directly involved in the conflict. Need to tone down the demands from those who are supposed to be spectators. So if you have on one side demanding the ST status for the Métis, and others on the other side justifying the union territory status for the Métis, both of which are not going to happen, then obviously we are just, adding fuel to the fire. And that is why the conflict has been going on. And I do not expect the TV panelists to take sides on either ways. I think what is essential at this point of time is to recognize the fact that 15 months are enough. We need to stop the violence. There is a need for composure, calm from both sides, from all sides. And if we do not do that, we can continue to kill each other till the cows home, but that's not going to resolve the problem. And I do not believe that, Métis are going to be given ST status, because that would inflame Manipur, because in that case, you will have the Nagas coming and joining the conflict. And at the same time, I also do not believe that you can give union territories to the Kukis, because then all of the groups across the country will demand it. I think those are not the issue. I think what we need to realize is that even if there are inputs from the intelligence or somebody else, all those things needs to be verified. At this point in time, what is needed is some kind of composure, because if we do not maintain the basic clarity as to how to deal with this situation, we have a failed state on the next door. So if those who are concerned about failed state in the next door, that's Myanmar, please remember 10 years down the line, then only you will see the consequences of the conflict in Myanmar. You are not going to see the conflict in the next 1 month or 1 year or 2 years. 10 years, there is no government in Myanmar, the conflict continues. Each of the communities in the Northeast and the rest of India will be affected, because having a failed state next door is something else which India has not dealt with. Afghanistan was not our next door. Burma always had a powerful military. Bangladesh also had a powerful government, whether it's military, Hasina, or anybody else. When we have a failed state, possibly in both sides, it's going to be completely different. So the situation in Manipur, has to be addressed. There needs to be talks, but we cannot start talks by saying that give us ST status, by saying that give us union territory. I don't think that's helping to improve the situation at this point of time.
Okay, I want to bring Ruchita Sharma into the conversation. Ruchita Sharma, your first thoughts, ma'am, on this latest demand by the Kuki community, which feels that somewhere their trust has been betrayed, especially in light of the recent false information that came in, which labeled the infiltrators as Kuki militants.
Ma'am, this is not a good word that the people wants a union territory. We are having one state, one nation. We are under the government of India, so there is rule and regulations about for this also. If we are staying in the, there is no one ethnic. There is 34 ethnics in our state. So how do we people had provided the union territory to one community, and the one community, those who are coming from the another state, another country, and they are not belonging to the indigenous group of Manipur, and they people are not indigenous until and unless they are the illegal immigrants and narco terrorists are there, because the indigenous people never likes to separate our state. Then how can we give the separate administration to the Kuki-Zo persons? This is the things I wants to know, because the rule and regulation of India is one. In one nation and one rule and regulation in India, then how can we provide another territory in one state? This
But
is my
Ruchita
question
Sharma,
to them.
how do both the how must the government work now to bring both the communities to the common table and begin a conversation? What do you feel is becoming the biggest hindrance to that communication process?
Yeah, we have to go through that only. We have to give a good communication within us also. And the one thing, those who are ethnics, they are not doing all these things. I want to let you know again and again, because this is due to the illegal immigrants and narco terrorism is doing all these things. So India government have to look after all these things, because we are not have the power just to do all these things without any consult, without any knowledge about for the India government rule and regulation, how they people are asking for the separate administration. So I request to the government of India that only the solution will come if India government will do something for the good conversation with the with the communities, those who are having a problem between us. So I would like to say only these things: separate administration is not possible from my side. It is not possible, because we are in one state. In one state, if people are saying every ethnic
Okay.
also can demand for another
For a
another
union territory,
administration.
yes.
I'm not getting you, ma'am. Yeah, please. Now I'm.
Yes, Ruchita ji, I'll just come back to you in a moment. Dr. Toming, bring you back in the conversation. Dr. Toming, I want to understand from your perspective. You've also heard what our defense experts have had to say on the broadcast. I want to understand from you, sir, what does the government now really need to do? It could be the state government or it could be the government in the center. What is it that is required from their end to bring the communities to a common ground where at least a conversation can begin on what really is the future course of action?
We are just. I always.
This question is for
appeal to
Dr. Toming. Ruchita ji, I'll come to you in a moment. This question is for Dr. Toming.
Our other panelist, if you have listened to her and everything is going on record, this is where the problem lies. If you say certain community as illegal and then also othering them in a very undignified, with a malified terminology of narco-terrorism, how do you think of going ahead? This is a big concern that I have. And in fact, the idea of who is a citizen, if we read the Constitution, Article 4, 5, 6, if you read them well, you would know what do you mean by a citizen, you know. And then that after that clarity comes, then you have to also understand that there's an idea of fraternity also. Now, if an idea of such a very demeaning and an othering concept is reflected by a very sophisticated person like the panelist herself, and what if that idea itself is the common masses definition of a certain section of society, which were part and parcel of the fabric of Manipur. And if that is being proliferated in the name of system, in the name of failures of the deadwood of the state, the deadwood's going to burn. And if you want peace, you have to start from an idea that that terminology, that kind of othering has been unfounded, and like our defense expert says, Sir Dhruv Kachot says, sometime in the system there is supposed to be, and it can also happen that misinformation can also come. And this was the spark which led to an idea of destruction of the fabric of the society. Now, how do you dose this fire if you still hold on and cling on to a very falsified narrative which demonizes a section of society which were very much part and parcel?
Yes,
of the
Dr.
social
Toming, I
fabric?
want to understand from you. Now, you've explained the problem as you understand it, that there continues to be a demonization of the Kuki community by the Metis community, right? Bottom line, that's your assessment of the situation. My question then simply is, what really will be required to bring both the communities so that a conversation can begin? Because as you say that the Metis are demonizing the Kukis, the Metis will say the same thing.
Did you ever hear us using such type of words, narco-terrorism or illegal immigrants for the Métis? We don't use that. It is coming from that side all the time. And how fair is that? It's not fair also. And then the very fact that people are expressing their concern, the circumstance has to be seen as well. Because how do you see and define an idea of ethnic cleansing? Ethnic cleansing, cultural ethnic cleansing, or demographic ethnic cleansing? It doesn't have to really lead to an idea of death or maybe murder. People have been pushed away from the valley area, and they can't go back. It has been 1.5 years now, and the problem and then the fear is still very true. Nothing has changed at the ground level. And when propaganda news and fabricated news comes up, it unsettles the entire community. It unsettles women, it unsettles children, it unsettles the entire existence of a person. It's an existential query all the time because the circumstance has been such that.
Okay, I want to bring in Mr. Kipjan back into the conversation. Mr. Kipjan, I leave the last word with you. I want to understand from your perspective as well the same, that what will it be or what is required then from the government at this point in time to really bring the communities to a discussion table, to initiate a conversation? Are such attempts being made on the ground within leaders of both the communities who are actually demanding peace, or who are at least trying to make reason with the people?
Ma'am, first let's understand when you talk about peace, what do you actually mean by peace? Peace is absence of violence. Peace is absence of atrocities against anyone. But before I make that point, I would like to respond to one of our panelists, who's the defense expert. Sir, see, the demand, the Metis demand of ethnic Kuki, we are not against, but I'll tell you, any citizen have the right to demand anything which is under the Constitution. But I'll just give you a point. How can you expect a community who claim to have 3,000 years of civilizations of kingship to come to stoop to that level? See, that is one point. And the other thing is, ma'am, you said that, maybe a demand for a demand for a separate state by the Kukis, it is objected by the Metis, the constitutional right. But what I'm trying to say is, we have been driven out from Imphal. We did not demand, but see, there's a certain provision for the tribals in the state of Manipur under Article 371C. And the state has systematically desecrated that. That was the reason why our armed insurgent group, I mean, both the KNO and UPF are in negotiation with the government of India, that in lies the answer. So if you want to settle, give a solution or a peace, I think the government of India has to expedite that talks with the Sioux group. That is the only platform through which I think sustainable peace can be achieved. That is the
Okay.
reason why, ma'am, let me finish. That is the reason why Cookies, we were forced to demand for a separate administration. But never before, the suspension of operation with the government of India and the state of Manipur was not for a total state. It is a state within a state. Means give us the give power to the existing autonomous district council that is under the constitutional provision of Article 371C. See, I think the government, if they want peace, I think a table is already there, and I think the government should look into that and expedite that. I think that's the only solution.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.